Hello everyone. My name is Kara with Kara's Transformational Coaching. I'm going to give it just a minute to see if anyone's able to hop on live. So if you're watching the replay, just bear with me for a moment. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. I've been feeling called to just come back to basics a little bit and, remind everybody, what is this healing and awakening journey all about? Either remind you or share it with you if you're new to me and if you're new to this process. Good morning, Charles. So happy to see you on this morning. Let me know how you're doing. I'm just giving it a minute to see who's able to hop on live with us, and then I will go ahead and get started. I'm just kind of going over my notes here. How are we doing? It's been a little interesting out there, isn't it, guys? It's like, I keep hearing the term eye of the storm, and I kind of feel like that, finding myself in this space of finding my calm, finding my center, but gosh, is life crazy around me right now. Good morning, Tasia. So happy to see you on this morning. How are you doing? Feel free to say hello to me in the comments if you'd like to say hi so I can see who's watching. I do actually plan on using this video in the future, so I'm not going to be mentioning names after a certain point because I will cut that part out for like confidentiality's sake, because this is a private group, and then kind of using the content to share with others. So if you have questions throughout the program, if you have questions throughout the class, please put them in the comment. You can say like question so I can like see it, and write your question. And then at the end, I'll go back through and I'll read through the questions and I'll answer any questions you guys have. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, Tasia. I'm doing well too. I am doing very well. I actually wasn't feeling well yesterday. I woke up and I was like, actually woke up during the night before, and my brain went to panic mode because I started to get stuffy, and I'd had this headache for a couple days and I had been really tired, and I was like, oh my God, I have COVID. And I went into panic mode and I couldn't sleep because I was so worried about it. And I woke up yesterday morning and I called my mom and I was like, I can't come to Thanksgiving. I'm sick. And I told her how I was feeling, and she's like, oh, I had that last week. You'll be fine. It just lasts for a day or two. And I was like, oh. And sure enough, I woke up this morning feeling fine. So sending prayers and thank you and gratitude that I am not sick. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. If anybody else joins us, that's great and that's beautiful. As I mentioned, I'm not going to be mentioning names because I want to be able to use this for future teaching to people that are new to me. So, but please feel free to comment along the way and ask any questions that you have. I'm happy to answer questions, once I kind of get through the meat and potatoes. If I see a question that's relevant, I'll try to hop in. I just might not use your name when I'm answering the question, just so you guys know why I'm doing that. I'm not trying to be impersonal. Okay, so my name's Kara. I'm with Kara's Transformational Coaching. For anyone that doesn't know me, I've been coaching for about 5 years. I started as a health and wellness coach, and then I transitioned into life coaching. Now I do life and soul coaching. And then interestingly enough, I did a full 360, and now I am offering life and soul coaching within a health and wellness program. It's kind of becoming my signature program because it brings everything together. It balances our physical health with our mental health, with our emotional health, and with our spiritual growth. It's kind of an all-in-one, and I teach one tool, I teach several tools, but there's one specific tool I call the 0-point method, which is kind of the basis that everything else expands from. So it's simple. It gives us one focus, but it actually creates transformation in all areas of our life. So we're very focused on our physical health and well-being, but we're also looking at the mental and the emotional components as well. At the end of the video, I might mention some of my programs that I'm going to be offering holiday specials. So I'll just kind of mention that that's going to be available to you. I don't have the specials out yet, but they'll be coming out at the end of the week. Just something to look forward to if you love what you're hearing and you want to learn more about working with me further. I have different ranges of ways of working with me. So that's what I do. I help people to really I help people to really clear away whatever resistance we have to moving forward. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys in this class today what's making up that resistance, what's creating that resistance. You know, it's something that all of us experience and feel at different times of our lives. And some people just choose to stay there, to stay stuck, whether they choose that consciously or subconsciously, right? But they just aren't aware maybe, or they just don't want to, you know, put in the work, or they aren't aware of what they can do to create change and to help them move through that resistance and to become aware of what it even is so that they can start healing it and seeing it and clearing it and moving on. And really, you know, what this healing and awakening journey is all about, which is, you know, what my work is all about, is allowing us to heal. So the first thing I wanted to share with you guys, right, was, you know, what is this thing all about? What and why is it helpful for every single person? And what's the number one, what did I even say? The number one reason we all need healing. And that is all comes down to our programming. Okay. So if you've been following me, then you have probably heard me talking about how the lens through which we view the world, so our perception, is created by the programming that we get growing up. It's also created even before we are able to receive information, whether it's verbal or you know, words, or like, but even as babies, like, we can energetically sense people's intentions even if we don't understand language yet, right? But we also actually have programming imprinted in our DNA. So coming into this life, we already have programs. They have shown that up to 7 generations past of our ancestors' experience can actually imprint traumas, experiences, information in our DNA. So we have programming from experiences that we didn't even have in this life. So we're all born into these lives where our brains come into this world and say, what do I need to know? What do I need to know about how to belong in this family, in this world, in this culture? What do I need to know so that I can be safe? What do I need to know so that I can receive love, right? And it's looking for all of this information. So we're like a sponge in those earlier years. And I'm sure you guys are aware of that, and you've probably heard that before. So we get all of this programming, and it's happening at very deep subconscious levels, right? So we might, as an adult, see things going on in our lives. Yes, 7 generations is a long time, Charles, right? And so imagine, I only know back like a couple of generations, right? I don't even know what my ancestors beyond that experienced, right? So, oh, good morning, Ellie. Happy to see you on. Oh, shoot, I said I wasn't going to say names. Now I'm going to have to either ask your permission or cut that out. I'm not using names because I want to use this training in future programs. But anyways, so we all get that programming. We're all searching for that meaning of what we need so that we can be safe, right? And so our brain actually, as we grow up, right? And I said some of that's subconscious. So as we grow up, we don't even realize that the brain is doing this. We don't even realize that our brain is searching for all this information and tucking it in the background. And then we go on as adults to behave and to think and to feel from these places, from these seeds that were planted when we were young. So the reason that we all need healing, I think sometimes people think, oh, I don't need healing. You know, I had a pretty good growing up. My parents weren't perfect, but they weren't abusive, right? I didn't experience trauma. And that's another thing that we don't necessarily understand the actual meaning of. Trauma to the body is really anything that puts us in that fight or flight mode. So we could be startled by, let's say, an adult dressed up in a Halloween costume. That could actually register as trauma in our body, even though as an adult we would never look back at that and be like, oh, that was a traumatic experience. I mean, maybe we would if our reaction was like we screamed and cried and had nightmares, then we might say, oh, it was traumatic. But we don't always recognize that just the part of our body that feels unsafe, that feels like it needs to be aware and to create a protection, like an awareness of a protection, like so this doesn't happen again because that put me in that awful state. We don't always recognize that as adults looking back at what we've experienced. But because we've all had programming, that is the reason that we all need healing at different levels and for different things, right? So that's the number one reason. So it's not to say that everyone will choose that healing, right? And some people may have come here with a deeper purpose to pursue that healing than others, and that's okay. So that's why it's important not to judge like how much healing work someone else might be doing or not doing. Maybe somebody you're in a relationship with and you're like, oh, I'm doing all this healing work and I'm doing all this work, and you're not doing any of the healing work. Well, maybe their journey and their purpose of being here doesn't have as much to do with that healing work, and that's something that we can learn to release and let go, and then we get to make that decision if that's an aligned relationship for us, right? Because if we came into this life with this deep sense of like wanting to understand and wanting to heal and wanting to be our best selves and reaching for the best life, right? That means that probably at a soul level we came here and part of our purpose was in seeking that healing. And now if you guys have followed me for a while, you've probably also heard me talk about the Great Awakening, which is happening on the planet. These higher vibrational intense energies that come in that are part of our evolution as a human species. And we are on this path of evolution. So more and more and more of us are coming into this life now and for the last couple of decades, and we're really super focused on this healing work, and it's becoming really important, and we're really feeling that nudge from inside to like really start getting on with it, right? And so those might lead to feelings of inadequacy, or I'm a failure, or I'm wasting my life away. But really, all that needs to happen is this little shift of being like, hey, I actually came here with this purpose of doing this deeper work. So it's okay that I feel this way, but that doesn't define me. That's not who I am. It's just my internal nudging to start moving in this direction of healing and awakening, right? Because what happens after we start doing the healing work is that as we release those lower vibrational thoughts and beliefs and feelings and patterns and behaviors, we start clearing away that resistance to what is truly there, to the truth, to, you know, what's actually happening in our lives and how we're actually showing up and how things are actually playing out. Without, you know, once we start clearing away that energy, now we're able to see through a clearer lens. We're no longer looking through the lens of our past programming and our past wounds and our past pains, right? So we're able to actually awaken to more of who it is that we truly are, beyond that programming, beyond that conditioning. You know, one of the things that I have been teaching a lot, I've been studying for about a year now, is human design. And each one of us is uniquely designed to be who we are in this world. And yet we come into this world, and it's just very interesting when I do these readings to see how people have always known at the core that they were designed to be this way, and that's how it naturally feels good to be. But life and people and experiences program and condition us that it's not okay to be that way. You need to be more like this. And so we kind of get this internal feeling of never being good enough. But if we actually can discover who we were designed to be, I have so many clients that just like their eyes are like, oh, that's exactly how I experience things. That's exactly how I feel. And having that validation that that's who you came here to be. So it's perfectly fine to be that way, to embrace that and to move forward with, you know, that essence of who you are without feeling like you need to be anyone else. Okay? So... Right. And so also, you know, going back to, you know, why is this healing such a powerful and beautiful thing for so many of us? And I think that this awakening that's happening on the planet, the Great Awakening with, you know, where we are at, it's really encouraging a lot of us to look deeper inside, because it's what our soul came here to do. Right? So when we stay stuck, and when we, you know, we oftentimes get stuck in our minds, get stuck in like the mental trap, because we haven't yet learned how to unravel that. And we might still be stuck in energies or emotions from past experiences. And so when we deny doing that work for ourselves, we're actually denying our soul of having the experience that it came here to have. You know, the way that I see it is that our souls really came into this life saying, I want to have, you know, this experience. And we chose the challenges, we chose the family, we chose the core wounds that we were going to experience in this life. And so as a human, we have forgotten all of that. And we are just have kind of this like tunnel vision of the human life. And all we can see is the illusion of the programming that we've received. And now, for other reasons I'm not going to go into in this class, there are very valid ways in which we've been programmed to be in a state of fear, to to be encouraged to stay small, to stay stuck, to stay weak, to be in a mindset of victim mentality, to be in a mindset of fear, to feel like we need to be afraid of anything, everything, instead of, when we come into this world, having systems and organizations and education systems and government systems that are all about honoring who we are at our core, honoring all of our spiritual gifts, because we all have gifts that we call spiritual gifts, but they're truly just part of who we are as a soul. Honoring our intuition, honoring our body wisdom, honoring our deep internal knowing that we are enough as we are coming into this world, that we don't need to try to do or be something else to be accepted, to be loved, to be saved, to be, okay, right? There's all of these things that we could be, teaching our children as they come into this life, that who you are is beautiful and enough. What are your gifts? What are your ideas? What is your genius to offer the world, right? It's kind of the other way around. We treat children as like, okay, I know everything and I'm going to teach it to you. And yet we're teaching from a space of programming, conditioning, and our own wounds, because most of us haven't done the work. I know I hadn't done the work when I had my children, and I carry a lot of guilt for the way that I raised my kids when they were younger. But I can release that and let that go now, honoring the fact that we all chose this journey. My children chose to be born to me with all of my messiness and all of my mistakes, and they're learning from my my experiences as well. And as I heal and grow and shift and change, I pass that on to them. And they get to see that, and they get to see that I'm shifting and changing those conditions, those programs that we have been born into as individuals, as generations, as societies, and as cultures, right? And so we're starting to break up with all of that and starting to recognize the true beauty and gift that is within us that we have to give to the world. Okay, so what are the 2 places that we can begin to access this healing? And if you guys have questions, just throw them in there and I will definitely address them. In fact, I wanted to go back and see. I've always had an unknown calling all my life, not knowing what it was. Human design would be great to see if I could determine it. Yes, human design, and then using gene keys in combination with human design. Gene keys is just an offshoot of using the human design gates, and it's absolutely mind-blowing, the information that you can access through those readings. But then also, like, the whole point of the gene keys, at least that part of it, is to really take that information and internalize it and sit with it and contemplate it and ask yourself, what does this mean to me, versus looking at something and say, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be, and thinking that you were somehow supposed to fit into that mold. But it's like, how does this relate to me, and how can I take this concept and expand on it in my life for like true internal learning and evolution and growth? That's how I see it when you come in this life, certain traits, and yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue. So the 2 places we can begin to access this healing. So there's 2 places where we can really access the healing, and then there's one place where we can look to for signs that deeper healing needs to happen. The 2 places that we can look to are our mental wellness, mental health, and our emotional wellness and our emotional health. So in the mental space, we're looking at our thoughts and our beliefs. A belief is just really created by a thought that we have thought over and over and over again, right? And I've taught in many of my classes how our brains are designed to come into this world, and we, get that programming, we create that initial neural pathway, and our brain is likely for any similar situation that comes along to use those same neural pathways. So we actually have very repetitive thoughts. I believe the statistic is that, like, as an adult, you have, I'm sorry, I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember the statistic, but we have very, very repetitive thoughts every day. Right? And so we're really kind of stuck in these grooves, and our brain actually seeks evidence to support what we already believe to be true, which again, remember, is based on the programming that we got growing up. So while we think that we might see something happen, and we see that happening, and we might think that our observation is true and it's clear and it's objective, but it's actually not at all. It's actually very subjective. It's actually very dependent on what we already believe to be true. We actually have a filtration system that filters out information that doesn't fit in with our preconceived notions, and also will generalize things that we're seeing and observing and sensing to fit into what we already believe to be true. So that's why witness testimonies are notoriously unreliable, and people can be raised in similar situations or families and have very different experiences, okay? The truth is that our truth, what we experience, what our reality is truly an illusion. It's a holographic reflection based on what is energetically vibrating, imprinted, and therefore being reflected out into our external through our brain, through our perception, through our vision, through this process. It's quite extraordinary when you really think about it. And so how do we change that, right? And so this is where the healing work begins. We look at our thoughts and our beliefs. And instead of asking ourselves, are these right or are they wrong? Are we right or are we wrong? Is so-and-so right or is so-and-so wrong? Instead of looking at it that way, we ask ourselves, does this belief feel good? Does it serve me? Is it what I want to believe is true about the world? Because something that I believe to be very true in the core of my being is actually the core and foundation of the work that I do, is that we are so much more than these human bodies and these humans that are living these lives. We are a soul. And as a soul, we are infinite. We are eternal. We are so much more than we know ourselves to be within this human experience. And so yes, from the human perspective, life can be scary. Life can be hard. Life can seem finite. We can seem finite. Other people in our lives can seem finite, and that can create a lot of fear and anxiety. But if we can continue to trust and surrender to the greater perspective, to the higher part of us that we're connected to, but we are also a little detached from in these human bodies, the part of us that is divinely orchestrating this entire experience so we can have the greatest soul growth possible. That again, we can't always see and understand from these perspectives, so we can honor and validate how challenging and frustrating this life can feel at times. But the sooner that we can accept that that does not have to be our truth, even though we can honor how it feels, but that we can still transcend it for an even more amazing experience of life than we are currently having. We have that capability, and we have it more now than we ever have before, because of the Great Awakening, because of these energies coming in to support our growth and our expansion, right? So we look at the mental space, and then we look at the emotional space as well in our healing, because when we have traumas, whether they're mini traumas or major traumas, right? Anything that put our body in that fight, flight, or freeze response, that imprinted an experience that was painful or uncomfortable, right? Part of us registered that experience and said, I don't want to experience that again. That was a little too close for comfort, right? Like that felt like, I might not have been safe, or I might not have been lovable in that experience, or I'm not going to belong if I do that again. Right? So it registers that experience. And then because we're also programmed and conditioned not to feel our feelings, ignore them, stuff them, hold them in, internalize them, right? That energy literally gets trapped inside of our bodies. And so we hold on, so many of us are holding on to so much weight and so much density and so much emotion and energy, lower vibrational dense energy, that is from things that happened a long time ago. And we're holding on to it out of fear, and also just out of it being subconscious, and we don't have the awareness of it yet. Because if we had the awareness, we probably would be like, oh, I don't want that anymore. And we'd like, right, if we could just take it and like chuck it, we would probably do that. But what we don't consciously realize is that there is a very deep part of us that is still stuck in that experience because we never allowed ourselves to experience it fully. Maybe we didn't know how, maybe we weren't allowed to. And because we didn't experience it fully, we held on to that trauma, and it's an energy that's now vibrating within us and creating this experience where we are continually attracting people and situations and experiences of a similar vibration. And some will say that that's your fault because you're not thinking the right thoughts or something like that. But I don't see it that way at all. I actually see it as this this beautiful divine orchestration of life that allows us, right, as a human, we don't see it this way, but it allows us to continue to attract experiences that will help us to unravel and unpack and see and hear and honor this part of us that's still trapped in that old space. And if we can recognize that it's not happening because we did something wrong, and it's not happening because life is just unfair. It's actually happening to try to give us another opportunity and another opportunity and another opportunity to heal it, to see it, to honor it, to heal it, and to release it. Okay, this is what I teach in the Radiant Healthy You program, my signature program. I'm actually changing the name to Radiantly You, so you might see me calling it Radiantly You now, because it does transform all areas: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. But this is essentially the core essence of the program, is learning how to release those deep-seated energies and emotions that we have trapped in our bodies. So we look at the emotional releases that we can have. We look at the reprogramming of our thoughts and our beliefs so that we can start seeing things differently and creating a new perception of the experience. All right. Give me just a second. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say about that. Oh, yes, sorry. And then we also have the physical awareness. So with our physical awareness, this is where our body, when we're not paying attention to the mental and the emotional suffering, pain, triggers, any awarenesses that we may have, our body will, that energy starts to manifest dis-ease or illness, or physical experiences within our body. And it's kind of like our body's last ditch effort to be like, hey, we really need you. We need you to stop what you're doing and really pay attention to this, right? So many illnesses and diseases kind of like disrupt our life and make it difficult for us to keep moving forward. And so we just get annoyed and frustrated, and we want to give up, or we want to just get so angry that we can't keep doing what we want to do. And we're thinking like, oh, I want to improve this area of my life, but this physical thing is coming up and creating all this havoc. This isn't working. Like, this isn't helping me any. This isn't helping me to move forward with what I want to do, what I believe, I'm destined to do. But it's our body's way of saying you might be going forward on the path, but maybe you're heading in the wrong direction. Right? And the body will do this to bring us back home, to bring us back to center. Right? Somebody, for example, like with a cancer diagnosis or something like that, that literally has to stop your life, and it forces you to get real with yourself. And oftentimes we discover, deeper meanings of who we are, and we recommit to ourselves, our purpose, our journey, what's important to us, our priorities, right? So going through the process of that physical healing is about so much more. If we're aware of it, if we have that awareness to be like, oh, okay, this is a physical manifestation of something that's been going on at a deeper level for me. And it'll be happening. The physical is the last step, right? It starts with something spiritual. And so by spiritual, I mean something that goes against who we are as a soul. So believing that we're not worthy, believing that we're not enough, or believing that we're better than others, or believing that there's not enough to go around, that we live in a world of lack and scarcity. And yes, there are physical realities out there that reflect that back to us. But again, going back to, right, can we just try to remember and connect to the fact that that doesn't have to be the truth that we live and experience. It is our truth because there's a part of us that's resonating with that truth, and that's the only reason that it's being reflected back to us. Right? Now, as humans, and I do not get this right all the time, ever. As a human being myself, I'm constantly finding myself in spaces of like worrying about things that are, and feeling like I need to try to get control, right? But that's a spiritual lesson too. There is no such thing as control from a human perspective. Our soul and what I also believe, universe, God, source, energy, which I believe we are a part of, we are one with, we're not separate from. They're in charge. They're orchestrating this whole thing. I'm just the actress in the movie playing out the part, but they've already designed the storyline, and it's beautiful. And I trust that and I believe that with all of my being at a conscious level. There are still subconscious parts of me that are still stuck in shame. Or I said shame. Could be shame or fear or guilt or blame or whatever, right? So at a spiritual level, we're learning lessons about our infiniteness, our infinite abundance, our ability to access anything that we need at any time, right? If we can align our energy and start seeing the world and believing from those places. And it's a process and it's a practice. Okay, so spiritual and then emotional, right? Those emotional, what are we feeling? And usually our emotions come from our thoughts and what we believe to be true about the world. And then the last stage is the physical. So once something has gotten to the physical level, you know that there's been signs along the way, or there's been a progression of the energy, right? And so, that's why, in the Radiantly You program, we look at all the aspects, because it's like, to me, going to the doctor and getting a medication that treats the symptoms, you're really only scratching the surface of what true healing is all about, right? Because you need to trickle that healing not only down to the core root of what's going on physically in your body, right? But then you get to take it down to your mental space and the thoughts and the things that you're thinking, and then down into the emotional space and what are you feeling and what emotions or experiences have you had that have trapped emotions within you, and then down to the final space of the spiritual. Where did it all come from? Where did it all stem from? And those spiritual lessons for us are very deeply, deeply programmed. Those are programmed into our DNA collectively from generations past, right? Because this is how humans have lived for a long time. But we are at a very crucial point in life, in Earth's history, of actually finally changing and transcending that. Okay. Any questions about anything? Okay, why having the life you want depends on your healing and awakening journey. Okay, so you want things. You want things that are different from the way you're experiencing them now. Maybe you want better health. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you have a health issue and you know there's a deeper cause to it and you want to get to the core of that. You want more success. You want to live your purpose. You want to find out what your purpose is. Maybe you don't even know, right? You just want to know more of who you are. Maybe you just want more peace and you just want to actually enjoy life for a change, right? Right now, things are very, very intense. So many of us, even those that have been on this path for a while, are struggling a little bit. I struggle on a regular basis of like remembering what it's all for, because my day to day is so chaotic. I have 4 kids that are remote learning right now, and my husband and I both work from home, and it's stressful and it's chaotic, and I have a teenage son who is doing things that he shouldn't be doing, and the list goes on and on. I'm a human just like the rest of you. Right? But at the end of the day, I have to remember, and I have to come back to my purpose, and I come back to this center, this space that I have created inside of me, where I can find the calm and reconnect with who I am at a soul level and remember what it's all for, right? That's something that is very helpful in this healing and awakening journey, is cultivating that practice of reconnecting to yourself first, even as a human being, because so many of us have even lost who we are at a human level. And then once we kind of regain that connection, then we get to go even deeper and reconnect to who we are at a soul level. Okay, why did I come here now? What was my purpose? What did I want to do? Right? Why am I here at this very special time? Right? So much beauty and vitality and gifts and awareness to be had through that journey of going deeper and reconnecting with who you are. So why having the life that you want, sorry, I got a little sidetracked, depends on this healing and awakening journey. And so if I haven't already kind of explained that, right, it's through this work that we literally clear away those lower vibrational, dense energies that literally create like this resistance. It's a cloud. It keeps us from seeing what's truly available for us, what opportunities are truly available for us, what, events and people and experiences are available for us. When we're clouded with that cloud of resistance, it could be judgment, it could be confusion, it could be sabotage, it could be fear, it could be control, it could be so many different things, right? It's those limiting beliefs, it's those limiting thoughts that we have, when we haven't learned how to focus our mind, how to train our mind to work for us, and instead our mind is controlling us, right? And then clearing away those emotions, those lower vibrational emotions that either have been trapped in with us for a while, or maybe we still don't know how to experience a moment fully, a present moment fully, right? And so we're having that experience, and we're still holding, and we're like taking on more and more stuff. And something else that's really fascinating to discover when we do these human design chart readings is a lot of people are designed to take in either other people's thoughts or other people's feelings or other people's identities, other people's fears, right? And you actually get to look and see, like, what areas of my chart did I want to take on other people's experiences? And the reason we do that is so we can gain wisdom, more wisdom about the human experience. Our soul wants to learn more about the human experience. And so by doing that, we look at it from the human perspective, and we're like, oh, it's so heavy, it feels so heavy, or it's so hard, or I'm carrying so much that isn't even my own, and I don't know what to do about it. It's just overwhelming, and I can't connect to who I am because I've got so many other things from other people going on in my energy field, right? This is something that I'm working on with clients in the Radiant Healthy You program as well. This is all like coming in full circle to this, who we were designed to be, and having a greater understanding of that so that we can go out and live our life clearer and with a greater understanding of what's happening, right? So it's about, for many of us, like understanding that so that we can, it's not that like we magically aren't taking people's stuff on anymore, but it's like once we have that awareness, now we can ask ourselves the right questions in the moment to say, okay, wait a minute, is this my energy or pressure to figure something out, or thoughts or feelings, are they mine or are they somebody else's? And then we start learning how to detach and how to separate so we can gain the wisdom that we came here to gain as a soul, but that we don't have to take it on as a burden and carry it. We don't have to go around carrying other people's things, right? So anyways, that's why we need to do this deeper work. That's why the healing and the awakening leads to having the life that we want. Consciously creating or manifesting what we want in our life is the exact same process as the healing and awakening journey. Okay, this is something else that I teach in my conscious creation course, which is a bonus that's offered if you sign on to Radiantly You. It's also a bonus to get your human design chart read. And if you've already had a design chart reading, then I offer to do either a couples reading or a family reading for you, which is even more interesting to see how not only are we designed, but how do our designs activate or affect and have an effect on each other, especially those that we are in contact with often, because we all have our own auric fields, and when they interact, there are certain experiences that we have depending on what we have in our design that we'll feel from each other. Anyways, but the conscious creation process or the manifestation process, it's all the same. Whether we're conscious or subconscious to it, we on a regular basis set intentions for a better experience in our life. I want more success. I want more freedom. I want more peace. I want more health, right? I want this, I want this, I want this, right? And that's okay. That's beautiful, right? As long as we've also learned to really sink into our present moment experience. And that's an actually integral part of the work that I do in the Radiantly You program, is learning how to truly ground into the present moment experience, because this is the only experience that ever matters. Everything that you want to know, all the wisdom that you could ever need is available for you in the present moment if you've done the work to clear away the energy, the emotions, the thoughts, beliefs, the patterns, the behaviors, all that creates an energy. As long as you have, if you're doing that work to clear it away so that you have access to anything and everything that you could ever want in this moment. I'm not there yet either, guys. So, right? But it's a practice, it's a process, and that's where I'm heading, and that's where the clients that I work with are heading. So it's through that process that we gain the awareness and we have the awakenings, the clarity, the wisdom to say, oh, I feel this now. I had this experience just the other day. I felt myself brushing up against the energy of where I was still closed off to allowing and receiving more clients into my experience so that I could have an impact and help more people. I literally felt the energy of where I was still like a little closed off, of like, I don't know if I could take it anymore. Consciously, I'm saying, yes, I want to help more people. Yes, I want to reach more people. Yes, I want my message to be heard by more people. And I want to have more clients, and I want to be working with more people and changing their lives. But energetically, there was this part of me that was like, but we're still a little scared. What if we don't have enough energy? What if we don't have enough wisdom? What if we don't have enough to give? And I could actually feel that. The only way I'm able to feel that energy is through the work that I've done, the healing work that I have done over and over and over again, so intentionally, so deeply, so focused, noticing, where do I not feel worthy? Where do I not feel enough? Pour more love into that space. Where else do I feel not worthy and not enough? Pour more love into that space, right? And I keep over and over and over. And now I gain clarity in an area just last week that I did not have the clarity the week before. And sometimes we're like, oh, there's this thing. Now what do I do? Now I got to do all this work to clear it. This is going to be so hard, right? But listen to the thoughts and the beliefs. Where are those thoughts and beliefs stemming from? They're stemming from fear. There's a spiritual lesson there for me. If there's something about fear and control coming up, where do I feel like I'm not enough? I'm not infinite. I'm not eternal. I don't have access to the resources that I need to heal this. What if just touching it, what if just feeling it helps it to dissipate and transmute? And now I can move forward a little bit further until I meet up with the next energetic resistance. And then I get to move into that space, and then the next space and the next space. What if it's not hard at all? But what if it just takes my constant and dedicated awareness and focus, which is something that we are programmed not to have and not to do, right? We're programmed not to be mindful, not to be conscious. Our lives are designed by organizations, people in power, those that are making all the money. Our lives are designed, and we're constantly bombarded with this information that we need to be doing, going, so that we can't stop and say, wait a minute, I don't need all of your shit. I don't need to buy all of your stuff. I don't need to hoard food. I don't need to, whatever it is. I actually have everything I need right here. If I could just clear away the energy and connect more deeply to myself. And it's in that clarity and in that moment, right? In that moment where I was able to brush up against that resistance that I was feeling, that energetic resistance, it was that moment where I was able to clear an energetic, you can call it a block, but it's not so hard to move, right? Once you're aware of it. And now you watch, I bet I will have more. I had a message this morning of somebody reaching out. More people coming in wanting to work with me because I was able to just see it and move into it, right? It's very subtle sometimes, you guys. This work is so gentle and subtle sometimes, and yet so deep and transformative. It's about going, my mentor Amy will always say it's about going deeper, not wider. And what does that mean? It's about taking everything that we've learned and the work that we've done and bringing it all into this one present moment space and going deep. And not always looking for more information, more tools, more techniques. Maybe this will be the one that fixes me, right? Your energy is looking outside of you. Well, you got to bring it back in. And that's why I feel like my work might be a little bit different than some other coaches out there, because it's not about teaching you so much. I do teach tools because our mind likes that, right? But they're all designed to bring you in to you. You are the hero you've been waiting for. You are the genius. You have all the wisdom. It's just a matter of clearing away whatever is keeping you from seeing it. And it's not as hard as you might think. It's just that we have been programmed and conditioned to go about life in a completely different way. So it's just about deprogramming, unconditioning, right? so that you can come back to who you are at your core. So I hope that I answered that. That's how you literally have, conscious creation, having the life that you want. It is essential to do this work, to truly have that life. And here's what will happen. Some people may not do this work, right? And they may use willpower, force themselves to show up for something. Say they run a business to become successful, to have the certain number of clients that they're working with, or maybe in their health. This is another perfect example, because this is actually where like the inspiration for Radiant and Healthy You came from. In your health, you go to this program and you learn how to eat right, and you get motivated because everyone else is doing it, and you show up, and you push, and maybe you lose a ton of weight. But you get to the end of those experiences, those programs, those experiences, that work that you did, and you still feel empty. You still feel like you don't have what you needed. You got a result, but it's not sustainable because you didn't actually go to the root of what was creating that reality that you had when you started. And what creates that reality, again, is the energy that's vibrating within us, that's creating that frequency, right? That has everything to do with our thoughts and our feelings and our actions and our behaviors and our patterns and our stories that we're living and telling and breathing and experiencing. We have to go back to that root and change that story. Change that experience, that perception through our brain, releasing the lower vibrational emotions so we're no longer vibrating with that energetic frequency. And it happens over time, right? Like I tell the members of my Radiantly You program now, well, it's Radiant and Healthy You now, I tell them, you're not going to lose all the weight you wanted to lose in 12 weeks. You're not going to have the results that you wanted to have for the perfect life in 12 weeks. But what they have gained, even in just, I think we're in the 8th week now, what they've just gained in the first few weeks even, was so much more than they had ever gained in any other program, because they learned how to come home to themselves and how to start gaining the wisdom of the present moment so they could start reprogramming the thoughts and clearing the emotional energy. Right? My work isn't about, you get results, but it's not about giving you those results. It's about teaching you what you need to know how to do so you can go out and get the results for yourself easily and effortlessly, because you're no longer being pulled down and weighed down by those denser, lower vibrational, energetic energies that are created by the thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and emotions and behaviors and patterns. Okay? What does it mean to awaken first as a person and then as a soul? Okay, so this is kind of a fun thing to talk about. So again, I mentioned some of us may not even know who we are at a human level, right? This often happens with moms. This definitely happened to me at some point. I went to a naturopath to get help. I had 4 children in 5 years, and it was not intentional. We wanted to have 2 kids. We didn't want to outnumber ourselves. We had our second pregnancy resulted in twins, and then we had a little surprise after that. And so for 4 years straight, I was either pregnant or nursing. My body became very depleted. So at one point I went to see a naturopath, and she was able to really help me. But again, you look at those physical signs, where was that coming from? It was coming from a deeper source of healing that needed to happen about my worth. Absolutely, for sure. But that's another story. So I went to a naturopath, and she asked me, one of her first questions was, what do you like to do for fun? And I like sat there and like wanted to just bawl my eyes out, because I was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even know what I like to do. All I do is take care of my children, and I'm just tired all day, right? So for many of us at some point in life, for one reason or another, we may lose sight of who we even are at a human level, right? What do we want our life to look like? What relationships do we want to have? What kind of health do we want to have? What kind of boundaries do we want to have, right? What kind of experiences do we want to have? What do we want our friendships to be like? Are they supportive or not? Do they feel good or not? Are they toxic or not, right? Human level stuff, human life stuff, right? And so sometimes we have to just come back home to this even. But then once we start to kind of level out and we remember who we are at a human level, we remember that, I get to have a say too, I have a truth and I can speak it, and we're practicing all of these boundaries and all these different things, and like, oh, I have gifts, I have things that I can offer the world, I'm worthy, I'm just as worthy as you are, right? And we start to come back home to all this stuff. And at some point, we might start to wonder, who am I even beyond this, though? Like, I must have been something before I came into this human body. Who am I at a soul level? What are my soul contracts? What are my soul lessons? What are the core wounds in my human life that my soul chose? These are the things that I think about, and why did my soul choose that, what led me to this place, and what lives have I lived before? What experiences did I have beyond this human life, right? And then when we start connecting to that deeper soul knowing, something magical happens. We don't live from that space. We still live from the human perspective, right? We still live in the human awareness and the human brain, right? So we still, have the experiences where we have a bad day or the kids are misbehaving or whatever. But we have access to this deeper knowing. And I always think it's like my heart is the doorway to my soul and to my connection to my higher power, to God, source, universe. It's all right there to me, right? And I have this access and this connection that gets deeper and deeper the more that I practice. And so I can access the knowingness of it faster and faster and easier and easier. And I am starting to slip into more of an experience of living from that space. It's a space of peace and love and understanding and compassion and acceptance and surrender and faith and trust. It's the space of being at peace even when my life is full of chaos. Right? It's this remembering that we're so much more than this human person and body and experience and personality. Right? And it's connecting to that deep knowing. It's deep in there, guys. You might not have an awareness of it, and that's okay, right? But if you continue to practice and do this kind of work, you will connect to it and remember it at a deeper level, and it starts to permeate in your life and also allows you to start transcending those deep programs and beliefs that we are not worthy, that we are not abundant, that we live in a world of scarcity, right? And fear and control. Your soul, who you are at a soul level, knows that there is no such thing, that is all an illusion, right? And it doesn't judge us as a human for still tripping and falling into that and believing it at times. It doesn't judge us at all, right? The soul is us, and it honors every step we take in this human life, right? We were so courageous to come into this human experience. This human experience is hard, it's dense, it's heavy. It's very, very different, I would imagine, from what our soul experience is like when we're in our soul body, when we're in that essence. The human experience, again, dense, heavy, clunky, complicated, right? I feel like, I don't know if this will resonate with some of you, but I know people always throw around the term like old soul, right? Oh, you're an old soul. And I feel like there's two different kinds of old souls. There's the old souls that maybe have lived a lot of human lives. They've continued to come back to the earth over and over and over again to help with this whole experience of earth. And then there's the souls that I think that maybe haven't had that many human lives, right? But their old soulness comes from a different kind of soul experience that maybe they've had in other lives, on other planets or other places, right? Maybe they've had similar experiences of what it's like to go through this evolutionary process we're going through right now, but maybe they've had it in other lives and other realms or planets or places, whatever is out there. And I think that I'm the second. I don't think that I've had a ton of human lives, but I think I've had a ton of experience, like being in that soul space and connecting to that soul knowing, because that's always come easy for me. And if you've ever heard me talk about the when I was 13 years old and became severely depressed, I tried to take my life at 16. I was institutionalized at 17. I was extremely depressed for about 8 years. And at that point, I went on birth control. And so my hormones changed. And that was the beginning of my healing process. But I think that why that happened to me, because I've never really understood why. I think it's because I'm so in tune with what my soul knows to be true about who we are at our core, at our true essence of who we are as souls, as lights. And I think it was just so painful for me to see, how human reality was playing out, and it was in such a violent contradiction of what I knew to be true in my heart. Seeing people in pain and suffering, hurting one another, it was almost like too much for my soul to take. And so I went into a deep depression and just like confused and lost and didn't understand anything, let alone why I was feeling that way. But I just felt called to share that with you guys, because I don't know if maybe any of you would resonate with that, feeling like, and I think it's empowering for us to realize that we can choose to take ourselves out of, not take ourselves out of the human experience, but detach from it, right? This human experience doesn't define us. We're so much more. And remembering that sometimes when we're in our darkest places, right? And it's not about shifting what we're experiencing, because I believe that it's very important for us to feel everything that comes up for us. If we're in a dark space, feel what's coming up. Be in the dark space and surrender to it. Don't cling to it, right? Don't create stories about it, how hard this is, how awful it feels. You might have those thoughts, but watch the thoughts and detach from what you're making them to mean. Okay? I'm just going to read some comments. Yeah. You're welcome, guys. I have a feeling that many of us that are called to this kind of work might connect to that, So that's why, the soul perspective is so important. Okay. I have two most important pieces of the journey, the healing and awakening journey. So I did a webinar on my 40th birthday last April. And I shared at the time what I thought were my two most important keys to the healing and at that time I think I was just talking about the awakening journey, right? Now I've included the healing and the awakening. And as I was writing all this stuff, I was like, oh, there's these two really important pieces to it, and they're the same two pieces. So, I feel like when that happens, when I put out content and then I grow so much in between, and I'm putting out something that feels kind of like new, fresh, new energy with it. It's a lot of the same stuff, but it's like a fresh energy to it. And I come up with the same things. It's like, okay, this is really important. Okay? I didn't even write the two things down. Wow, I'm really trusting that I'm going to remember them. The first one is bringing yourself and learning and practicing and training yourself to be in the present moment. As I mentioned earlier, everything you need is in the present moment, and everything that you don't need that will slow you down is in the past and the future, right? Even when we're consciously creating, right? Like we might be trying to visualize what we desire to have, but remember, like even when people talk about that, it's like, but bring it into your present experience. So it's about like kind of because you might look around you and say, well, this doesn't look anything like what I want, right? But it's about bringing that energy of how you want to feel into your present experience and moment, and trying to create those feelings within you. Find the things in your life that you can feel that way about, right? That's a really important part about conscious creation, because it's about bringing the creation to you, not you being somewhere else, okay? So being in the present moment, being in your body, right? It's when we practice this over and over and over again that we get more clear on what's actually going on in our field. just like the story that I shared with you before about feeling that resistance. Okay, the second thing, also something we learn, we practice, we get better at as time goes on, is having unconditional love for ourselves, for others, and for our journey. Okay? And that's not easy. I don't know as though as human beings we really understand what unconditional love even is, and we're so programmed to have doubts and judgments and criticisms and, but I need to be here, but I need to be doing this, but I should be doing this, but it should look this way, right? And again, back to present moment and having unconditional love for yourself, for others, and for the journey in this present moment. Okay, there's a lot we can talk about with that alone. These are two essential pieces to the 0 point method that I teach in the Radiantly You program. Okay. I also said that I was going to give you a journal sequence, and I see that I didn't bring the journal sequence with me. Give me just a second here. Okay. I have part of it here. I'm gonna read these questions to you, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the journal sequence in the group when I get back home. So the first question you can ask yourself, who am I in this human life? All right, and let yourself just dive into who's human Kara, who's human, I'm not going to use your names because I want to use this at a later time, but who is the human version of me? What are her likes and dislikes? What are her thoughts and feelings and beliefs, right? We can dive into those things and have no judgment about who we are at our human level. And then ask yourself, who am I as a soul? Now you might not know right now when you ask yourself, but just by asking the question, you're opening yourself up to new ideas, to new perspectives, to new inspirations coming in for you, new awarenesses, right? Just by setting that intention of asking that question, who am I as a soul? And you can also explore, like, what are my beliefs about how this whole life thing works, at a soul level, at a quantum level, right? Oh, okay. And then here's another really good one. And then this is the only other question I have written here. If all of your material needs were met, all your material needs were met, and you didn't have to do anything for them to be met. Let's say we lived in a quantum field where everything we need and want is available to us, okay? So we don't have to work for money, is basically what we're trying to get to. If you didn't have to do anything to survive, to support yourself, to access resources, what would you be doing with your time? And what would you maybe want to do to help or serve others? This is the direction we're heading in with our evolution, is getting to a place where we're no longer living out the illusion that resources are scarce and that there's not enough to go around. We'll no longer, at some point, I don't know how many years this will take, but at some point, living in a world where we don't have to work for money, but we get to work for joy, right? We get to access our true gifts that feel amazing and fun and expansive to use. And then what's more fun when we're doing something that we truly love than to do it in a way that helps and serves others or uplifts others, or we just get to have a mutual experience of joy with another person through our experiences, right? So I want you guys to think about that and hold space for that. Hold space for that vision. I don't know if you've ever heard people talking about the new earth, right? The new earth, the higher vibration, the fifth dimension, this evolutionary experience that humanity is moving in the direction of. however long it takes, right? This is what, holding the vision for that kind of experience where we don't have responsibilities, right? That don't feel good. Like responsibility, think about that word. That word alone comes from a place of like fear and lack and control. And that's why, we hate responsibilities, Kids always want the freedom of being an adult, but the adults always look back at being a kid and say, I wish I could, go back and not have all these responsibilities. Because we want, that's our soul knowing. Like that's a connection to your soul knowing that we're not actually like under any obligation to live a life that is where we're responsible for doing things for others, right? As a soul, we get to just be and exist and do, and experience life at its fullest, right? So, just interesting to think about all of the belief systems and the programming and the conditioning, right, that's in place right now and that we've received our whole lives that make us feel like there's something wrong with us if we want to shirk responsibilities or live an authentic life or do things just for the joy of doing them. And yet that's how we are actually supposed to be, like at our true essence of who we are. But we chose, and then we can honor the fact that as a soul we chose to enter this life at this time where we're still very much caught up in the illusion of having to do these things to be okay, to survive, to work and to have money. Right? So it's okay. We chose this. We chose to come in with experiencing this, right? But it's also okay that it really might bother us in some ways, because that is a soul remembering. That's a remembering that we have of what it's like to live a life where we're completely free. Right? And that is essentially the core of the work that I do. It's allowing you to become free to be yourself, to know who you are at a human level and then at a soul level, right? And to be free of the beliefs and the conditioning and the programs, to be free of the emotions, the traumas, the experiences that you may be holding on to, and to be free to go out and be who you were designed to be in this world. All right? So that is what I have for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. So I am going to be offering holiday specials at the end of the week on private coaching, distant Reiki healing sessions, which have been incredibly powerful lately. Very, very deeply transformative for the people receiving them. Human design chart readings. My Soul Space, which is my monthly membership group, where we have a class a week. I do a weekly card message, a weekly distant group healing session, and there's like weekly, or daily posts to support you along your healing and awakening journey. Many of my private clients have free access to that. And if you are interested in enrolling in the next installment of formerly known as Radiant and Healthy You, and now is going to be known as Radiantly You, you will get free access to Soul Space for 3 months. And you also get a free human design chart reading, which again, I said, if you've already had a reading, I'll do a couples reading for you or a family reading. There's also some other bonuses in there. There's 2 tiers of investment for the Radiantly You program. It's a 12-week program. So it is a program that's designed for someone who's truly ready to commit to this work. It's deep work, you guys. This is deep work. The results that the members are getting have been just deeply transformative, life-changing. I've had comments like, I've taken so many courses in my life, and yet this is the only one that's really helped me to make these changes that I've always been wanting to make. So, I'll have some testimonials I can share with you towards the end of the week. But it's a 12-week program, and it combines private coaching a Facebook group for daily support, and there's weekly class. That's where I give the weekly class in there. You also get either like weekly or bi-weekly, depending on which tier you choose, distant Reiki energy healing sessions to support the energetic clearing and the work that we're doing. I feel like this component is completely different from any other program you'll find out there, and it's extremely powerful and effective in moving you forward through your journey. So it's the private coaching, the group with the classes and the healing, and a messenger thread so that we can stay connected and support each other at a more intimate level on a regular basis. So that's a 12-week program. It's going to begin January 11th. And there's a free bonus week too. So it's technically 13 weeks. There's a bonus week. Oh, you also get a, now that I think about it, I might have misspoke. I'm not sure that Soul Space might only be a bonus for those that pick the second tier. Sorry, don't quote me on that. You'll have to check the link once I post at the end of the week. But I was going to say, another bonus is you do get access to the 14-day detox, which you can use. We do go into detoxes a couple of times during the program. Again, it was initially designed to be a physical wellness program. It does focus on physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, but we definitely bring the physical component to the forefront because, again, our physical, the way we show up for ourselves physically, what we're doing with our bodies physically, gives us so much knowledge and information of what's going on under the surface. So, it is still a very important focus of the program is the physical well-being, but it's not like about eating perfectly for 12 weeks or exercising every day, right? That's not the point of the program. It's about healing at the very deep-rooted levels. So yes, the clients are losing weight, but it's not the main focus. It's kind of like the side effect, okay? But anyways, having that detox available, we all choose a level of how we want to detox, and we kind of set an action plan when we do a week of detoxing. But it is helpful because it allows us to kind of get unaddicted to all of those, things that are in our foods that are easily addictable, like sugar and the chemicals that they put in our foods. And again, it's just very interesting. You gain a lot of information and awareness about what excuses are coming up, what thoughts are coming up, how are you treating yourself and why, and finding the resistance and where's the resistance. So really powerful. But so everybody does get free access to that as one of the bonuses. So it has been an incredibly transformative program for myself and for the women that are in there now. And there's, I could go on and on, but I'm going to be posting on Friday on my business page and in Healing Hearts and Awakening Souls, and I'll pin it right to the top of the pages, all of my holiday specials. So you'll have access to all of that information. If you're watching the replay and it's not like maybe you're watching it like 6 months from now, you can still go and check my Facebook page and my group Healing Hearts and Awakening Souls and go to the top of the pages. I always have my current prices and programs pinned there. It's easier for me to put all my information there than it is on my website. I need to learn how to do that, how to get all that info on my website. But all right, that's what I have for you guys today. If you have any questions or you think of questions later, feel free to reach out and private message me. And also, if you're interested in working with me further, but you don't know where to start, because I do have a lot of different things that I offer, feel free to reach out, and you can always schedule a call with me, and we can just talk about where you're at and what might be the best direction to go for you. Okay? All right. Have a beautiful and amazing day. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. I feel very honored and blessed that you spent your time with me today. And be watching in the group for me to post the rest of those journal questions. I love you all so much. Mwah! Take care. Bye-bye.